Hello and welcome to today's Assassin's Creed video. We're going to be talking about something that I think is very important when it comes to this game. I wanted to dive into what I believe is the best version of Assassin's Creed Shadows on every aspect. We're talking about the stealth, the parkour, all of it. And to do that, I'm going to be presenting some of the older games, and we're going to start off with Unity. The thing with Unity is that even though some people might agree that the parkour was the best, it's actually not the best. It's really just the design that they had. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but I want to start off by showcasing the black box missions. This is the most essential thing that I think every developer of an Assassin's Creed game should keep into mind. Reason for this is these are intricate details where you have opportunities presented to you before the start of a mission that you can take advantage of, whether it's stealing the key from a guard, whether it's killing someone and taking some paperwork, or using their cargo to enter a base. There's so many different things, and even within the mission, oh, there's an extra mission where you need to take out a special guard or person within the storyline. And what we're looking at right now is one of the best. It's called the Confession in Unity, where you could go in and basically do a face assassination in front of everybody, or you could try to do stealth, sneak around and do things the proper way. But the only reason I'm bringing this up is you can see there's a unique kill opportunity, there's a secret entrance, and then there's a bunch of other options within that. This is the best system that Assassin's Creed has had, and if they expanded on this fully, I don't think a lot of developers know this the way they should, because some of the games after this ignored this type of concept. But this is the most critical when you're playing a stealth game. You're giving the type of freedom that's crazy. And to kind of talk about some other game called Hitman, who's more social stealth and does a lot of different things where they can disguise themselves, they can poison people. I do believe that this game should take from there and use this as well as a tool to enhance their gameplay. As you can see, there's an opportunity over here, the main entrance this way, undercover secret area. There's a person right now that you're seeing, he's moving up. I can go over here and take his key. There's a bunch of different ways to get in through the building everywhere. We're not going to display everything, but the point is this is super critical to the possibilities of what you can do. And I do think that more games from Assassin's Creed should follow this setup, and use it as a tool. This is number one. And number two, when it comes to Unity, one of the things is that they had the parkour, not because the mechanics were better, but just the city, right? So one of the biggest things in games is a city. So the part one and the Ezio series pretty much had you in a lot of cities, which made it very fun. So you can do parkour like this, and you can get around. And some of the little features in this mechanic, like going through a window, very cool. You know, you're fluid, and unlike me right now, this is a live demonstration. You can get through the window and then continue your journey as you parkour throughout the land. And while this isn't the best parkour, I just wanted to talk about how the system works when it comes to having a huge city as your playground for parkour. Parkour is so important, in my opinion, for Assassin's Creed, because it is a part of what makes it unique compared to the other open world games where you're just running on the streets the whole time. And so hopefully the devs can start deciding areas and locations where, hey, this is a huge city, let's focus on that. And of course there's a lot of silly stuff in here where we're like, hey, who put that there? I mean, do people really believe that we'll have a bunch of extra places to parkour like this in real life? No, but it makes the game more fun for me. And so that's kind of what you have to expect for them to add these little bit of intricate details that can make it a little more unrealistic, but more fun. That's what we care for, right? We want to have fun when we play these games. Those are the two biggest features from Unity that I love. The parkour isn't the best. We're going to get into parkour in a minute. But I did want to take a moment and show you something better and greater. And here we are in Assassin's Creed Shadows, the best combat ever in an Assassin's Creed game, in my opinion. Reason for this is because you have a good variety of attacks. You have your specials abilities, of course, but you can do some good combinations and systems within it when you add your builds to the playstyle, and it changes everything. Right now, I'm working on a weak point build. I'm gonna throw a lot of smoke bombs. It's very awesome. I'll have it on the channel by the time this video comes up. This is a fun way to play. But I also have my pure stealth build where it's basically throwing kunai and assassination even to bosses. And then I have my bleed and poison type of build where I go crazy with that. You guys seen it on the channel, called Purple Rain. And it's just fun. It's just fun to make these builds in the RPG style, but having my stealth be the focus. And I do believe that they have the best system in the game overall, and you're gonna love it if you played it. And to talk about it, you know, you have Yasuke, who isn't an assassin, so you know the debate is he worth it to even put into the game. You could have kept NAOE and it still would have had the best combat in the series, in my opinion. As you can see, Yasuke is super powerful. This is the atomic bomb build that I made that I absolutely love. And it basically either 1 or 2 shots any enemy that it touches, and it is overpowered. And once the momentum gets started, you take one guy out, it'll automatically let you finish someone else off. And it just makes it an easy way to play, but it's super powerful. I made unique play styles with Yasuke and with NAOE, and this is what this combat system has been able to do that I can say without a shadow of doubt is the best in the series. And we need this implemented ASAP as we go and continue to see forward. Now, I do want to continue to talk about this. I don't believe that this is the greatest stealth design because we didn't get black box missions, but the open world and the big castles, invading them, is a really big challenge on expert to not get caught and to play smart and to do things the best way possible. And I love this about this game, and I cannot wait for New Game Plus, guys. We're going to be deep into it. But the reason I bring this up is because even though Shadows shines in a lot of ways, for me personally, that I absolutely love, it's flawed with the parkour. And we talked about it a little bit. We're gonna dive deeper into parkour in a second, but the point of it is parkour hasn't been what it used to be, and that's okay, right? Like, I think we shouldn't over exaggerate. If they're gonna make an RPG game, make an RPG game, and they're gonna be making new different iterations of Assassin's Creed is what the word is. We don't know that for certain. We don't know if they're just gonna stick to the RPG games because they keep people playing more than they don't. So, you know, I don't want to hype you up and oversell you, let's just say, on what is gonna happen. We don't know, but I want to dive into the parkour. Let's do that. Okay, so now, as you can see, we're playing Ezio Part 2, and you might think, oh, that's an old game, this is stupid, this game's graphics isn't as good as Shadows, and the overall game isn't great. I don't know why you're putting this on. This is ridiculous, or whatever you might feel. And I can totally understand and totally agree that there's certain things in these games that aren't as good as Shadows. Shadows surpasses all of the older games in a lot of ways, but parkour is not one of them. And I am not a parkour specialist anymore. I used to really practice this stuff and do side ejects and all the cool stuff, and I honestly can't remember how to do them. But the one thing I want to talk about first is just the city. You can see there's roofs everywhere, right? So this is a playground. This isn't a, oh, this is very realistic and this is the most realistic that the city's ever been. No, it's very fun though. And that's what matters, right? Like, if you can still make it somewhat realistic, nobody complained that the rooftops and the city aspects didn't feel good and that it wasn't realistic. They just said, yo, this is a blast to just go to the roofs, never have to touch the ground. I am an assassin after all, but check that out right there. I took a leap of faith and jumped and survived. But the point is you can do your own controls and jump wherever you want. This is a manual jump, hasn't been in the game for a while, as well as the height gains that you get from side ejects or back ejects like that right there. You can see I wall ran and then I jumped to the side very easily, and I haven't played this in forever. And so if I was to practice this, I would showcase it better. And there are plenty of people who are the experts. Check out. As you can see right there, I went all the way from an actual side eject all the way up. Okay. So I had this right here, and somehow I side eject and jumped up. So that's the height gain that I was talking about. If you don't know what I mean by parkour, there's that. There's all of the little details that are offered from part 1 through 3, basically. Those were the original the Ezio series, basically, and Altair. Those are the main ones that have the parkour best. And yes, I understand that not every place, for example, Japan at the time, did not have rooftops like the way they do. So they made the game more realistic to fit Japan. And I love Shadows. I have Shadows as an 8.5/almost 9 for many reasons. But the parkour is sad and it's unfortunate because I love Assassin's Creed. And this is where, like I said, you're seeing me, a bad parkour player, do decent little move arounds the city. Not realistic. Why would they put all those pieces of junk in their area? Well, this is what I'm talking about. It's the freedom that I felt when I played through the game. I would not touch the floor. It was like the floor was lava when I played these. I would be an assassin and I would want to stay on the roof. And so if you create this system again with the manual jump, with the height gain from side and back ejects, those systems alone, and a fluid flow like this in a city, I promise you're gonna be fine and you're gonna love it. So I don't even know how to stab at this game. This is how long it's been for me, guys. And so that is the thing. And we'll see. Oh, poor guy, he fell. We'll see what happens if they ever go back to this type of experience. And I'm not here to complain. Like I said, I'm just giving you guys some of my ideas of the things that we've already seen, and I want to continue that as we go forward. And what you're seeing in the background is exactly what I wanted to talk about, that I believe has been missing for a good 10 years or so, where the modern day story hasn't been followed up properly or hasn't really been showcased at all. They have the new Animus system that's supposed to be giving us something, but what I loved about this game and everything that these originals showcased is that I was enticed by the modern day story. And the only reason I played the other main memories, aka the ancient stories, were because I wanted to learn more about the modern day stuff. And it was so intriguing. Everything felt very special, like a mystical, magical history that I could go back and learn more about myself through those things. And Desmond was the anchor for that, and it was such a special experience that doesn't exist anymore. And the Assassins versus Templars was extremely real, and you saw Desmond trapped with the Templars, and then the Assassins supposedly rescued him. We're not going to spoil the whole story, but in part 1 it was just the beginning of tapping into that, and then you go into the Ezio series, basically going deeper and deeper into the Assassin's lore, and learning about the Creed by playing these older games and things like that. And this is something that is absolutely missing from the series, and it's something that I love. I remember playing this game, looking at this and taking my time, like, what is all this mean? Let me read this better. And I was reading through it, and I'm like, oh, all this code, man, I don't know what this means. It was frustrating to kind of like not understand this. And at that time, I wasn't an internet person too heavily and didn't know half of what it said in on here. And so it was even better to have that mystery as I play through the story, and then having this young lady rescue me, help me get out. Of course, we find out who she really is and what's really going on, but that's not the point. In the moment, you're in the thick of it, and she's explaining, hey, we have things to do, we got to go, we got to do this, we got to do that. And it was intense, and it drove me deeper into these ancient stories, which I love, but it is nothing like this, and it's something that we need back in the series. And I hope that there's going to be something special. I know that the animus is supposed to be what drives it, and that's okay with me, but how many layers will that be? So far, there hasn't been anything in there that's worth it and that's special, but we'll find out in the near future. Let's talk about it. So here we are in the animus, and this is the one section that will get you into the modern day. And this is what it's been subject to: 5 cutscenes. And there's some really cool, interesting things that connect different aspects together and bring you deeper into what is happening. So I'm not going to sit here and act like this isn't useful, but it doesn't feel as organic as playing as Desmond and going through that experience and having him develop into the assassin that he is. So unless they're going to do what I would love, is have the animus become its own game. So a game where you play in the modern day as an assassin, and you have all the abilities and all the cool stuff, and just make it its own game where it's modern day. And we talk about the watchdogs and things like that, and that was a very cool idea, that connecting them, and like, hey, Watch Dogs is basically Assassin's Creed in the future, and that would be nice. But of course, Watch Dogs had its flaws compared to Assassin's Creed, this series, where it's huge and very successful. So having this own setup where you will still be parkouring, you still will be stealthing and all of that stuff, I think it's super necessary. And so that's another point. Maybe they can do something like that, and that's something that I personally would prefer than just watching 5 cutscenes and reading text. This is boring. Of course, you unlock these during the story, and you kind of go through this audio and visuals for the 5 cutscenes, but that's not enough. Now, talking about story is very important, and we want to talk about the history stories, aka the ancient stories, which is the meat of every single Assassin's Creed game. The thing is, if you look at this list here, of course, this is on my PlayStation 5, but I do have a couple of other games like Part 1 and so on, just not on this system. But if you look at all of these stories, almost every single one of them is a story about characters who aren't assassins. The game is called Assassin's Creed, and yet, for example, you play as a Viking in this game. In Shadows, you play as a shinobi and a samurai in this game. And we can keep going down the list, all right? I mean, what more do you want, all right? There's plenty of them, even playing as a Templar in the series. And there's nothing wrong with this. But the problem is, if you're a true fan, you want to be an assassin and you want to experience the Assassin's Creed. I love that, the lore and the teachings, and I think it's super interesting, and it's a part of what the game is, right? You see Ezio's series, he starts off as a teenager and learns to be an assassin by Part 1, and then Part 2 and 3, he's really an assassin, and it's amazing, by the way. But we got that full experience of him being a badass assassin as the game progresses throughout the trilogy. But most of these, you don't learn about the Assassin's Creed until the very end, and sometimes you won't even know, aka Shadows, until the very end. And it's like, okay, well, there you go. They're just starting their journey. And so same thing with Valhalla. It's like you are basically just a Viking. And these are the issues with the current run of the stories. I get the fact that we need to have an origins experience when it comes to, oh, they're just learning about the Creed. But if you take into account Part 1, where Altair was already an assassin, he messed up on a mission, he disobeyed, and they had to retrain him. That was a great feature, a great storyline to basically introduce the characters on different combat skills, the laws and rules, all of that stuff. Okay, so I would suggest for Ubisoft to have somebody who's a lore master kind of put that into the story and say no more origin stories. It's like these superhero stories where every superhero you're getting the same story. Oh, when they were young and this is what happened. And no, you don't need a Batman parents dying in every movie over and over and over. Let's get some more original takes on the Batman. And so it's the same thing with Assassin's Creed, in my opinion. Stick to Assassin's Creed and then have the Templars and all of that in there. Now, people are going to debate and probably conversate about, oh, well, the hidden ones. It's the same thing, all right? We're going to have a debate. They're not the same, sure, but they are. In the end of the day, they become what they become, and there's different branches. There's actually way more branches than we think, which I don't want to spoil Shadows, but yeah. We'll talk about that in another video, but this is just some of my feelings, true feelings, how I feel deep down inside when it comes to the Assassin's Creed series. And of course, this is just a quick breakdown of some of the things that I'm thinking about and hoping for that the series continues to do and develop. Shadows to me is probably the best one in a very long time that I've played the most. I haven't played an Assassin's Creed this much as far as the newer ones back to back the way I feel right now. And so maybe you disagree and you don't like Shadows and you need one of the more original playstyles and all that. That's very cool. But share what type of elements did I forget to mention. Put in the parkour system, having the manual jump and height gains, and more of a city-based area. So I'll pick a story that fits the actual city, and then the same thing goes with the narrative, having a Assassin's Creed actual experience, not just some random person who finds out about the Creed, and then having the modern day deep into the plot, as well as the very cool combat in Shadows that I think should stay, and so much more. There's plenty of other topics, but feel free to share what you're thinking in the comments and let's talk about it, y'all. All right, see y'all on the next one. Peace.